I want to go into more detail around walking, since walking is something that we've been doing since the beginning of being human, moving into an upright posture onto two legs. And over time, our body has developed and is fairly well designed for walking. And if we're not careful, it's just going to be designed for sitting in front of a computer. So what do I want to say about that? Sitting in front of a computer. It's really important for our brain and our cognition to encourage the contralateral movement, the connection between right hemisphere and left body, left hemisphere of the brain and the right side of the body. And so let's start with our legs up on the wall. So getting your hips as close to the wall as possible. And just starting by letting your bones get heavy. Feeling where your back and your pelvis and the back of your head make contact with the ground. Notice where you're holding any tension. Letting yourself get heavier and heavier. This is also a great pose to support the function of the cardiovascular system and the venous return. It's a great resting pose, and in the hot summer heat, it's a great cooling pose as well. If you're flying a lot up in an airplane and you don't care what you look like at an airport, I've done this many times where I put my legs up on the wall. Mostly in the US, I don't want to be disrespectful in other countries, but this is great for inflammation, swollen ankles from traveling. And as we're lying here, we can think about a cascade of water running down our legs, splashing over our hip flexors, this crease. And you might even bring your hands to your hip flexors and just give a little massage, kind of upward stroking toward the rib cage. Our body is made up of spirals, and our contralateral movement encourages these spirals. I'll talk about that in another video as we're walking. So we can think about the weight of the bones spiraling down, the thigh bone spiraling down into the hip socket. And now activating, engaging, bringing some engagement and tone into the legs. Create this parallel position with the stance somewhat narrow so that our ankles are over our hip sockets, our acetabulum. And then sliding the right heel down toward the right hip, letting the foot find the wall. Feeling the texture of the wall. Coming to a little higher than a 90-degree angle. And then sliding the foot back up. We can find ways to do this outside, but it's nice to be inside for this particular practice. Using a wall, letting your foot feel the texture of the wall, the temperature. And making this movement as effortless as possible, while also still touching the hip flexor. Psoas is the main muscle of the hip flexor. I talked a little bit about the function of the psoas in another of my videos, and essentially that it's more than a muscle, it's more than just a hip flexor. And then letting everything get heavy, feeling weighted again. Dropping into this parasympathetic state, into this breath awareness, state of relaxation, noticing the back body on the ground. This begins to support our psoas and let us first allow us to listen and tune in, and then also encourages the psoas to soften and relax. Because we tend to grip through it when we're in a sympathetic state, when we're in a fight or flight, or on the go all the time, which is essentially being in a fight or flight. So now sliding the left foot down the wall. Letting the left foot find the wall as soon as possible. Keeping the foot on the wall for as long as possible as you slide back up. And there's more that's happening in the pelvis than just this flexion here at the hip crease, more than this particular movement that's happening in the hip socket, which is a ball and joint. A ball and socket joint, which can do more than just the flexion. There's a conical movement that can happen here, depending on many factors. The range of motion can be a lot bigger or a lot smaller. Just noticing how this movement is affecting your pelvis. If there's any other movement that's happening, be it very small, just tuning in. Last time. And then bringing both feet onto the wall. And in order to, psoas is going to assist in this, but in order to take the dominant action out of the psoas, we're going to think about someone scooping up our tailbone like they're pulling a sardine out of a can. So there's this kind of curling up, but first there's a traction of the feet toward the ground. So kind of energetic pull toward the ground. It's like isometrics. This is engaging the hamstrings, But we're also going to let go of any gripping around here, around the hip flexor. So I don't have to work so hard all the time. This can be easy and free. And then coordinate the movement with the breath. On the inhale, curling up. And on the exhale, curling down. And on the next one, stay at the top for a moment here, really feeling the hamstrings and maybe the adductors a little bit. There's a kind of narrowing toward midline. And then you can shake side to side, letting go of the glutes. It's kind of releasing any gripping or tension here. There's, of course, major muscular engagement that's happening, but we're softening everything around it. And now we're going to press our right knee a little bit higher than the left. Switching sides, press the left knee higher than the right. And now this weight shift is happening. It's transferring through the pubic symphysis, which is two more joints in the pelvis. Well, there's two joints in the pubic symphysis, is the cartilage in the middle. So this is the keystone of our weight shift, especially when we're bearing weight in an upright on our two legs. So you can even palpate your pubic bone here, your pubic joints and the pubic symphysis, and feel some movement here in the cartilage. There's actually movement here. And then curling back down. Let your legs rest on the wall for a moment, letting everything get heavy. And then I'm gonna slide myself a little closer. And now bringing the legs back, we're gonna step the right foot just a half a foot higher than the left. And you'll notice as we scoop up, the same idea, the sardine getting pulled out of a tin can. Gonna have to put a little bit more weight into the right foot. What are you noticing here? What are you feeling in your body, in the pelvis, in the feet? Sliding the right foot down, stepping the left foot up a half a foot. Maybe the hamstrings are cramping up. That's normal, especially if we're not used to using them in this specific way. The feet can cramp up a lot. Which can be a number of things: dehydration, lack of sleep. Body not absorbing minerals in a way that gives electrolyte balance. do we make something muscularly challenging as relaxing as possible? Utilizing our breath, finding the suppleness of breath, and then relaxing the legs on the wall. And you might just feel this movement here, internal and external rotation of the femur, the head of the femur in the acetabulum. So the ball in the socket, like this. There is this spiral in the thigh bone, and there's a spiral in the tibia and the fibula. The spiraling gives strength to our structure, to the architecture of our structure.